Greetings and welcome. I'm Chris Thompson, and you are listening or watching the Brain Software Podcast. This is episode 260, emanating from the most hypnotic place on earth, Toronto, Canada. Today, Mike Mandel and I are going to continue with awesomeness, including reframing negative thoughts, feelings, and triggers, body language tips and tricks, avoiding the nuclear war in your relationships, and we're going to actually start off with something we left from the last episode, which is about creativity and problem solving. So stay tuned, and here's your disclaimer.
Disclaimer. In today's world, it greatly disturbs our entire team here at MMHA, including me, Chris, Timothy, Preeti, Pedro, Noel, Ross, Karen, and Vanessa too, that there is a concerted attempt to stifle free speech by not letting us say Lucci. But here's what you need to ask yourself. Can you really stop us? Can you stop us at all?
Lucci!
Yes! Fantastic.
Hey, Jockstrap. What's going down, Scroll? I dreamed I just killed 6 people with an axe bag and then slit the throat of a man your age without a sight baggage. But whatever happened to Tex Watson and Patricia Krenwinkel and the Charlie crew and that old tranquility we knew back before 1968 hit and everything went goofy in the loony bin?
Bite me, crank, mate! So here, let's welcome to the captain's cabin that hypnotic buccaneer, that 5,000-year-old pirate wizard, because he's the Keith Richards of hypnosis, Mike Mandel. I like saying Mike Mandel. Well, that was the most odd intro ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
We sort of phased in gradually.
We're just going right into it then.
Right into
so here's what we got going on. This is the second podcast we're recording today, and I'm going to say this for the second time because 259 was just recorded earlier. Oh. And we want to make sure that you know about, first of all, join our free Facebook group called Brain Software. You can find it at mikemandelhypnosis.com/free group. Now remember, there are no spaces in URLs, so free group is all one word. And hopefully you can spell that, which means you're definitely smart enough to be in the group. Okay.
Nice.
The second thing is that the Architecture of Hypnosis is coming up in November. That's our 5-day flagship live training. You're hanging out with Mike and me and Timothy and people on our team and awesome people and resource helpers who come back from all over the world to take the class and help you. And it's a freaking great experience. It's way more than halfway full. It will sell out. So check it out, mikemandelhypnosis.com. You'll see an events tab. You'll be able to click on that, not events tab, an events link in the nav. And you'll see a link to the class. You'll find it all the details. You can always contact us via email. You can email support@mikemandelhypnosis.com if you have questions or concerns. We'll get back to you. And that's it. Let's get to our think tank words, and then let's dive into an awesome discussion about creativity, calibration, congruence, body language, and whatever else we got in store for you.
Interesting. Now, these think tank words are not technically from Savo Bokachek's think tank because I'm currently up in my cabin, but I went online, found a random noun generator, generated 3, and I always take whatever I get. We can't change it up because you don't like it.
Right.
And we got worker, boyfriend, and discussion.
Worker, boyfriend, and discussion. Okay, worker.
Worker. Working in the workery.
Working in the workery.
Right. Yeah. A worker, someone who gives their time and skill sets and receives is it remuneration? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think about the physics definition of work, which is applying a force over a distance or moving something over distance, whatever the technical dictionary definition is. But work is moving things. So metaphorically, we can just think of it as getting stuff done, right?
Like that.
How much of the time are we working, but we're really getting nothing done productive in our lives? Nothing at all. And I will tell you, probably the worst offender is when you think you're just catching up on the news and you're scrolling through TikTok, 2 hours can go by. The algorithm's so good. It presents all kinds of wonderful guitar videos or volleyball training exercises and all kinds of neat stuff that I think is amazing. And then I go, where did the last 2 hours go? I don't actually do that very often, but I've had that happen.
I saw a woman online on one of the YouTube shorts lately, and she really funny and smart. And she said, just to all the women out there, if you look at your boyfriend or husband's phone in TikTok and it's all women's butts and you know, I said, and women in bikinis and thongs, it said, they're not just arriving there. It's because that's the stuff.
That's the stuff that's stopping the scroll, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. When I first started using that,
careful, don't go admitting too much.
I'd be talking to my wife going, what the hell is this? All this stuff. It's just like, this is so wrong. Thankfully, I scrolled past all that stuff. And now what I did stop my scroll on, like, there's amazing volleyball tutorials on there. There's all kinds of cool guitar videos, all kinds of neat stuff. Anyway, pretty cool. It figures out what you like and it feeds you more of it. And
I'm thinking that my friend Chris probably spends a heck of a lot of time scrolling on.
Oh man, I
Get off to any word it sounds something like
I use it occasionally to check comments on our TikTok videos. And then I'm like, oh, just see what's there. And you can waste a lot of time. Anyway, work.
Okay.
Get actual stuff done, not bull crap, time wasting junk that doesn't move your life forward. That's work. We spend way too much time on work.
Right. What about boyfriend?
I think of that song. Is it the 60s?
My boyfriend's back and you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. So
my boyfriend's yeah. Okay, so a girl whose boyfriend's back.
Well, I just think about the era like that. Is it 60s, that song?
It is.
Yeah. So think 60s, think everything was simpler. Everything was just chill and relaxed. And
until
now we're in this
till 1968.
Yeah, there you go. So I just think about that word brings me back to that song, which brings me back to before I was born, but you were born, and you know, the 60s were a time of just relaxation and chill. So that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, and Vietnam War and violence too. You know, Chicago National Convention.
What do you get out of it?
I'm nothing. Pretty much the same as you. Boyfriend, you can flip it to friend boy.
Mm-hmm. Friend boy.
Yeah.
Friendly boy.
Really understand that.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I'm stuck on this one. I know one. Remember I told you that girl who went nuts on me that time and I didn't go down. She shut the elevator door in my face, my girlfriend at the time.
Okay.
And I just walked down the stairs and I took a cab home and I never saw her.
And you never saw her again.
She phoned me and she said, I've had 50 boyfriends I've broken up with. No one breaks up with me. And I said, I just did.
Yeah.
She said 50 boyfriends.
50. That's an accomplishment.
Sounds like a pattern. Okay,
yeah,
well, what about discussion? Well, this is a discussion.
This is a discussion.
Can you get to from worker to Dracula?
From worker to Dracula? I'd rather not.
I can. Worker. One of the most difficult jobs in old times was a gravedigger.
Mm-hmm.
Gravedigger to grave to Dracula.
There you go.
What about boyfriend? Does Dracula have a boyfriend? In today's world, right? Did he? And
from my boyfriend's back and you're going to be in trouble to attack to
my boyfriend's Dracula and you're going to be in real trouble. That's freaking brilliant.
All right, let's talk about discuss.
I'm just enjoying that one so much. My boyfriend's Dracula and you're going to be in trouble.
Think tank words. We got worker, we got boyfriend, we got discussion. Now, here's what it makes me think of. We did a short on this, and I think you and I talked about it also in a different YouTube video.
Right.
The idea that, we interrupt each other all the time, right? Now, the nuance that it made me think of is when you're aligned towards a topic, let's say you're out with a bunch of friends at a party and you're all having a good time.
You interrupt
Probably everyone's interrupting each other all the time. Yet, if you're doing it in a different sort of discussion where you're maybe arguing over something and you feel the need to be heard, then interruptions are really rude, right?
Whereas they ramp things up pretty quickly.
Expected. So context. It makes me think of context. All discussions have context, and your behavior is going to have to match that context. All right, let's dive in. We have all this stuff that we missed from the last episode.
Well, which wasn't considerable, but
can we start then with the
let's start
Edward de Bono stuff, and also the Whack Pack app, which you've been asking me to get for years, and we finally did it, and we used it. The Whack Pack app on iOS and Android, I guess.
Do you have to keep saying?
Yes, it's called the Whack Pack, ladies and gentlemen. What a strange name, but it's awesome. Anyway,
okay, so let's start with the Edward de Bono. Edward de Bono is a medical doctor. I don't know if he's still alive. I hope he is.
I think he is.
From Malta, I believe, and brilliant because he became the first person to really teach thinking about thinking. and creativity. And he's the founder of the whole concept of, well, the creator of lateral thinking. Instead of digging further and further down the well till it dries up, you've got to move laterally and dig a new well somewhere else. And that's what you're doing metaphorically.
Oh, he passed away in 2021, buddy.
Oh, no. Well, I guess we're not going to have him on the show.
But you know what? He was
Unless
near.
he was bitten by Dracula.
He was 88. He lived till 88.
Wow.
Which is pretty darn good.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all.
All right. But yes.
So anyway, he pioneered the concept. You know, like I said, if you have a mine full of gold or gems or something, eventually it's going to bottom out. You're not going to have anything left.
Right.
And people typically do that same thing with ideas. They go down the same old pathways. Well, we'll ask Dave and he said this. And instead, you need to move laterally to a different place and start digging in a brand new spot. And that's what he taught with lateral thinking, especially the idea of a random word. The introduction, he called it PO or PO, which is provocative operation, a way to trigger that jump to start working in a new place for digging for ideas. And consequently, if you get a random word like we're doing here in our think tank words, that would be entirely useful in the concept. Not certainly
It
not
gets
the,
you, yeah.
not the way we're using it.
It really nicely dovetails into this idea that the unconscious mind is a vast resource and your conscious mind is only a sliver of your total mind, right? So when you are given a word, I was going to say forced, but really when you're offered a word, offer it.
Offer it.
Melissa Tears, offer it.
Offer
Thank
it.
you. We'll see you soon in Vegas.
Like Blair Witch Project.
When you're offered a word, what'll happen? You just like we said in the last episode, you put your foot in scalding water and your brain scalding. Your brain will pull that foot out before you realize what happened.
Brilliant.
Similarly, when you are offered a word, your brain will start unconsciously associating before you consciously recognize what's actually happening.
Yes, because your brain is a self-patterning machine.
Right.
It's always building new tendrils and figuring things out. So De Bono did a lot of work on that. One of the things he came up with I thought was just brilliant was 6 thinking hats. And it's a very interesting little book. You can still buy it. Yeah, I highly recommend anyone who has any meetings of any kind, family meetings or huge corporate meetings, because corporations adopted this.
And we've done a
it.
podcast on this before.
We did, but we've actually used it lately.
That was the thing. So a couple years back, maybe a little bit more, you even told me, you said, Chris, I want you to purchase the 6 thinking hats and also the 6 action shoes, which I admit I still have not read. But I did read 6 thinking hats, loved it. I read it last year on a vacation in Mexico, just enjoying reading it on the beach going, this is a freaking great book.
Enjoying or enjoying off?
So after years of you saying we should do this, I finally read the book, and then we had the opportunity to run a meeting, and we made a discovery about you, right? And your skills.
Yes.
And it was really cool. So in a nutshell, Timothy September, our head of coaching at Mike Mandel Hypnosis, me and Mike, we all jumped onto Zoom. We had a purpose in mind for some evolution of MMHA, Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. We're codenaming it 3.0. But basically, you ran the meeting. We said, Mike, we have some ideas we want to run by you, but we need to flesh them out more. Can you run the meeting 6 thinking hat style? And that was phenomenal.
And the idea is it triggers something called parallel thinking, because meetings typically don't go very far because, well, I think this, but you always say that and you're still stuck. They're just random discussion points. But the 6 thinking hats are hypothetical, imaginary thinking hats of 6 different colors. And when you're told to wear a certain hat, you have to stay within the constraints of that hat. Now, I was wearing the blue hat. Blue is the sky, and it's the overarching hat that gives all the control to everything. And I said today to Chris, I was surprised I did a good job at it because I get lost in details very quickly. Genius is mysterious.
It's
My
like
wife
the
says,
management
genius
hat,
does not
right?
mysterious.
You would never want to manage people.
No, but it's the biggest chunk.
But you can manage a
that
process.
I can handle all the chunks and processes. So I was running the show there. Then we did things like the red hat. The red hat is, what are your emotions? What are your gut feelings on this? You don't have to justify them. In fact, you shouldn't. I just have a bad feeling about this project. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It stresses me. It gives everyone a chance to verbalize their feelings without anyone attacking them or questioning them on it.
That's right, because the red hat, the rule is there need not be any justification for the emotion.
There cannot be.
You can't even, you can have a justification, but you're not to present it.
That's right.
Just to talk about the emotion, good or bad.
The blue hat has to run this and make sure everyone sticks to the protocol. That's why everyone in the meeting needs to read the book. and be conversant with it. Otherwise, they won't get it. Then, of course, there's the green hat, which is creative ideas. When you're green hatting, you're just generating tons of ideas. The way you come up with terrific ideas is to generate a lot of ideas and use them as skipping stones to other ideas. Scones.
And you're not allowed with that yellow hat on. You're not allowed to say, "Oh, that's about." Sorry, green. My mistake. You're not allowed to say, "Oh, I don't think that idea is going to work because of this or that." No, wrong hat.
And then, of course, there's the white hat. White hat is pure data. So the organizer might say, okay, we're getting lost in the weeds here in creativity. Let's put all the data on the table. What have we done that has worked? I just want the data with no comment
What
upon
information
it.
do
Just
we
the
need?
facts.
Yeah.
Just the facts. Get it all on the table. Or you can assign someone, your white hat, you're going to keep all the facts that we come up with written down. Just the factual information, not new ideas.
No emotions allowed.
Whatsoever. Then, of course, the black hat. The black hat is the negative one. It's the thunderclouds. It's concerns, why this might not work, potential problems and threats. And when you tell someone to intentionally put on the black hat, or the entire group has to do it, this is very good when you're going to implement the idea.
Yeah.
Because you're looking for things that could stop it. And the beauty of this is everyone is wearing the same hat for the most part. You're thinking in parallel.
Yeah, and
So if someone
the nice
starts
thing
to-
about the black hat is that it's not emotions. There are reasons for being negative.
course,
I
yes.
have a concern about this because, and there's a justification.
There's a justification. And finally, the yellow hat. And the yellow hat is sunny optimism. What's the potential here? Why could this be great? Not even good feelings, but what could be positive? How could this turn into something wonderful? And so if someone says, well, we tried last year and it didn't, the organizer says, black hat, that's black hat. We're not talking about that. What's wrong with it? We want to hear the positive ideas. Forcing someone or urging someone to wear the proper hat.
Offering the hat.
Offer it. It enables people to get it right, which is really, really critical here. So, yeah, we had a blast with it. Let's just talk about the whack pack.
Yeah.
Let's get that off the table.
Okay,
right
so
away.
I'll just say that this started as a physical deck, and then it got turned into an iOS app,
Which
and
is great.
The app has some nice built-in. I think it was $4 Canadian,
Yeah,
right?
it's well worth it.
It's like so. It's probably 20 cents American, $4. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, I got the darn app on my phone, and then Mike and I were hanging out here one day, and we just didn't have. There was so much going on. We didn't feel like doing video that day, so we sat out in the backyard in the sun and just thought, let's run a whack pack workshop. So I grabbed my phone, we opened up the app, and we said, we're going to do a workshop. And we picked the topic in advance, and then it did like four
walked
cards.
us through, yeah.
And each card, you're given an idea, and then you turn it over, and you read it, and you implement, and you workshop the thing and make notes.
Brilliant. And it's organized. And the great thing about it, Roger Von Oku came up with this. I totally respect this guy. He's got a PhD in creativity. And he wrote a whack on the side of the head, which is, it's the Zen thing. They hit you with bamboo on the side of the head to jar you into new ideas.
That's
I take
what it
the
is.
thing off and beat him to death. So somebody did that with me.
That's why you called it whack pack?
Yeah.
Because like getting whacked in the head. Okay.
And this other book was a kick in the seat of the pants. And they're both books on creativity that are really good. But the Whack Pack app is phenomenal. So get it. We just really support this.
I remember too, of the 4 cards that we went through as part of the workshop, the one that resonated so well was Kill the Sacred Cows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. One of the cards just said something like the sacred cow. And it talks about the idea that there are things that people do, whether in their life, in their business, in their relationship, in their routines, that are the sacred cow. It's things that you've just been, I have to do this because I always have. Or we should do this because that's what other people say. And you revisit and go, well, wait a second.
What would happen if we killed this?
What if we killed that sacred cow and replaced it with something else or nothing at all?
Now that's interesting, Chris, because I gave the example before. One of the big railroads many, many years ago, when cars were just coming in and all of these other items of transportation, they had an option to get into all this other stuff as other organizations were. And instead, the CEO, who must have been some kind of a dick, said, it was a sacred cow to him. We are a railroad company.
Yeah.
We will always be a railroad company. And he limited into this little niche, whereas the other companies just went boom and turned into transportation companies instead.
And innovation.
So, sacred cow.
Yeah, think about if Tesla Motors stayed Tesla Motors and they changed their name to Tesla, they'd only be making electric cars instead of battery storage units and solar generation and AI-powered humanoid robots and freaking
I heard that
all
that
this other
wasn't real.
cool stuff. That's right, because it was Photoshop, Mike. Their shadows are in the wrong place. That is not anyway.
Some people have way too
Oh.
much time in their hands. My point to them is, get a job.
Yeah.
Stop looking at stuff that's none of your darn business. Just be normal. I'm
Oh,
only asking
man.
people to be normal. I spend my life asking people to be normal, and it's been the part of my life. The rest of it's saying Lucci.
Okay, let's
So,
get
let's
we
get on
we
to
have a
this.
lot. We are going to have to
I'm just
hammer
about done.
through. Oh man, we're only 1 point in. Okay, let's talk
Let's
about
talk about calibration congruence.
Yeah, this is coming up. I'll set the stage and then you talk about it, okay? We'll rapid fire through so many of these things. It's going to be a great episode. So, calibration
done.
and
It's gonna be a
congruence.
great episode.
Yeah, we've got this guy who we'll call Jeff, who emailed us wanting to be a guest on our podcast.
Right.
Which is fine.
Fine.
But
People
what
often
did
do.
we notice about the style of the communication, which was immediately
We
incongruent?
both picked up on it right away. He said, I love your podcast and all this and love the banter and all of these things. And we realized it was written by ChatGPT. It had that feel to it because he completely missed what we're actually like.
Yeah, like if you listen to this episode and notice the style, the way that we
Or lack thereof.
communicate,
Yeah.
haha, you're not going to write us an email. I've become a big fan, and I feel that I could be a solid contributor to
the serious
You sound like you're a university professor. Nothing against university professors, but if you sound like you're sitting in an ivory tower lecturing in this very formal manner, that's probably not going to
It's not
resonate.
us. Yeah.
And we're just going to hit delete or write invite only. We don't have a lot of guests on this
Our
podcast.
guests are by invitation only.
But
We've had,
me-
Scott Adams and Trocalagian and a bunch of other people. And that's fine. We invite people to be guests and they always say yes, but there's nothing wrong with asking if you want to be
Matt,
you have something to offer. But
find
I
out.
get these
like,
emails, Chris.
You're not going to do well if you approach us with that kind of really stiff
I
sounding
recommend
message.
you start with the word Lucci. You'll get our attention right away.
Yeah.
And what I find interesting, you just touched that after I dinged it.
Yeah, I'm going
You're
to
silencing
I'm
it.
silencing
You're
it. Yeah.
nice.
I'm
The silence of the bells. Did you ever
there we
see that
go.
movie?
Yeah, I did.
No. Anyway, where the heck were we with
Well,
this?
we're just talking about the idea here is if you are going to start a conversation or if you want to approach somebody with an idea, it's probably worth your while, unless you're doing the, just throw a bunch of crap out there and know that your success rate is going to be 1% or less cold email blast campaigns that people do. That annoys me. Do your
can see
research.
that.
Do your research and build rapport. I'm a rapport guy, right? So you might not be able to tell by the way I'm responding to that email, but if you do the research, you have much more chance to. You only need to say one thing. Hey guys, episode 258, when you told that story about such and such, that made me laugh so much. People love hearing that kind of crap. And then they'll, I'm serious.
You're selling the whole pattern. It's this great thing, and then you call it crap. Like,
Well, I'm just saying that kind of stuff. If you compliment someone that sounds genuine about something they did, they will probably actually read your email, and you have I would say 10 times better chance of getting a reply.
No, probably,
than this stiff sounding message that doesn't resonate, or vice versa. If
feel
you're a
free.
stiff person and someone comes at you like Jim Carrey, whatever, maybe that's not going to work either. So match. Okay.
That's good. If you do want to be on our podcast, you can email me, Mike at MikeMandelHypnosis.com, and I'll probably delete it, but I will answer you. But the thing is interesting. At least make sure it's relevant. I get these emails. Oh, I represent so-and-so. It's always the second party, right? I represent so-and-so. And he is an authority on, the periodic table of the elements and how it applies to, nutrition. I know he'd be a great fit. I say, we're a hypnosis training company. NLP trainers. It's like,
This is the cold
no fit.
spam that's going out.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Chris,
Chris, we have to go to a
about
commercial.
Oh, do we already have to go?
Already. Look at the time.
Wow, that's crazy. All right, so we now bring you a special report from Hypno North, Meaford, Ontario.
Yeah, how are you now? Well, it's your old pal Bradley here, alias Brado. And I'm podcasting again on the good old iPhone 4. And speaking of that, I was at Meaford Telecom the other day, and next week the brand new iPhone 6 comes in, and I'll be grabbing one ASAP. You can believe that. Although you can't get the 6 with Siri up here until next summer. But even so, it's going to be a heck of an upgrade for me, especially since I'm using the 4 because my awesome iPhone 5 still down the outhouse. But at least it stopped ringing for now, which is good because it always felt like it was calling out to me to rescue it. And there's no way I'll go down there into an outhouse, even though Edward probably would, since he brags about not having had a shower since grade 8. So anyway, You're not going to believe this one. As I might have mentioned before, the whole field of hypnosis is pretty crap up here, and I'm the only one who seems to actually know anything about it, which isn't surprising because just about everyone up here in Meaford and Shallow Lake swims in the same shallow gene pool as Eddard and Deuter, and let's face it, there aren't a lot of Alfred Einsteins in their family history. Anyway, Deuter's kid sister, Voralaya, was down in the Caribbean on vacation in some tropical paradise like Dubai or Indonesia or something. I'm not sure where. Anyway, she got stung by a Portuguese man-o-war jellyfish, and Eddard, the geography scholar, concluded that must mean she wasn't in the South after all. She must have been in Portugal, which is a place I've never been to. But I'm damn sure it's a lot better than here because we don't get visitors from Portugal who are just desperate to get to Meaford just to complete their bucket list. So anyway, Eddard said Voralaya was swimming just off the coast of Portugal in the Pacific Ocean, and this nasty jellyfish wrapped its long poisonous testicles around her legs and stung her real bad. So anyway, it was more painful and dangerous, and they sent her back to Canada to recover with some pamphlet they'd given her at the hospital, and apparently Dr. Deuter read it, and then used all his money from the zip-on condominiums and protophiliacs and the other Alices that he and Eddard made to buy a plane ticket, and now the dick's flown to Portugal to solve the problem. So listen to this piece of lunacy. The pamphlet said that when you get stung by a jellyfish, you can often deal with the problem in a pinch by washing it with urine. So encouraged by Eddard, Deuter's booked a flight to Portugal where he'll engage the locals' help to locate the offending jellyfish that stung his sister so he can urinate on it. So Voralaya will recover, and I patiently explained to Deuter and Eddard the pamphlet meant to urinate on the area of the skin that got stung to neutralize and wash off the poison, not to urinate in the poor jellyfish if you can even find the horse and thing now. Of course, Eddard and Deuter exchanged glances and smirks like I was the effing stupid one, and Deuter got a flight with Air Canada and is landing in Lisbon, Portugal in a few hours, so with any luck, he'll go to the ocean and get stung too, and hopefully the locals will refuse to whiz on him, although I'm sure I would, whether he got stung by a jellyfish or not. By the way, I was at Pro Hardware in Owen Sound the other day picking up a tarpaulin for the hole in my truck's roof and saw that one of Eddard and Deuter's zip-up monsters was for sale, so I took a picture of it so you can see the ridiculous thing on the podcast. And this being your old pal Brado, podcasting from Meaford up here in Grey County where sanity is in short supply and weirdness is a daily event. And thanks once again. Good night and Lucci.
And we are back. Mike, let's talk about some body language stuff.
Right.
We've done a little bit on this in recent videos.
To the next
but
podcast.
yeah, let's just remind people that we've already talked about steepling in this podcast.
What about the
we're
eyebrow
demonstrating
flash?
here? Well, we'll just quickly demo it, right?
Okay, steepling.
Steepling.
Stapling with your fingertips when you're talking, when you're presenting, it shows authority, it shows competency, it shows you know your stuff, that you're wise, you're sage-like. And this is not me saying it, it's former FBI agent Joe Navarro's work. He and I presented together in Hollywood, and this is great, great stuff.
So let's get into a few other things that we can do
The
then.
eyebrow flash. Eyebrow flash. When you see someone, you meet someone for the first time, do the eyebrow flash. Let your eyebrows go up, widen a bit. You don't have to open your mouth like you're gaping in the gapery, but you can if you want. The eyebrow flash, it lasts only a fifth of a second. All primates do it.
It says, I'm
Chimpanzees
like
do
you,
it.
right?
Yeah, it's just we're from the same tribe. And that's an important thing. If someone's telling you a story and you want to show that you're listening, do reverse steepling. Have your hands with the fingers pointing down. That shows that you're receptive to what they're saying. And if when they make a point, you briefly look at them and do the eyebrow flash, that says, I'm listening, you're making sense. It's very powerful to enhance your communications. Let's talk about the thumb out of the pocket. So I want to tell you the Julius Fast error
Okay.
and how it didn't work for me.
So the thumb out of the pocket means that when you put your hands in your pocket, leave the thumbs out, it sends a stronger signal than tucking the thumbs in the pocket and hiding them.
Right, because the thumb becomes phallic. It actually is a phallic symbol in this sense. The idea with your hands in your pockets and the thumb gratuitously hanging out.
Like you're not worried about it.
Or like you're one of the Edmund Bagman the Confessor. But that's a horse with a different color. So you should always have your thumb out of your pocket. Even women should do this. It's a powerful signal. But the danger is, if you do it backwards, put your thumb in, it sends weakness and so on. Now, Julius Fast, I Googled him yesterday to check on this. I had his book on body language when I was maybe 20 years old and read it cover to cover, thought it was fascinating. But I think he made a bunch of this stuff up. He didn't have Joe Navarro to go to. And he was a writer of fiction as well, but he wrote this thing. He's since passed away, I think in 2008 or something. But the book was interesting. But he said the exact opposite with the thumbs. He said, if you're standing in a bar put one foot in front of the other. So he waits on one foot, which immediately looks weak.
Oh, that
not
looks
balanced.
weak. And yeah.
And he says, tuck your thumbs into your belt so your fingers are pointing at the toilet area.
Oh, that's just a great way to look like a dick.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that. I can remember being in Sault Ste. Marie after a gig. I'm the young gunslinger of Hypnosis. I was like 21, 22 years old. The Jimmy Page hair, black shirt with a king of
And were
clubs.
you doing this?
And I'm standing against the bar with my thumbs tucked into my belt like Jack the Dick, and my fingers pointed carefully at the hammer of Thor. And guess what happened? Everybody looked at me like I was a dick.
Yeah, no problem.
So we say thumbs out of the pockets, not in the belt. We talked about taking up space.
Right. The idea of taking up space, again, is an indication that you are confident. You don't need to cover up and protect yourself. You're happy that
Expansive.
No, if someone's going to attack you, you're going to deal with it. Now, this is all historical. Nowadays, you're not really thinking you're going to get attacked, but it sends the same signal, right? It sends a signal that I'm not concerned about protecting myself.
Slightest. That's even
Right.
knees apart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an intriguing thing, because if you see something I call the kingly walk, King Charles does it, Prince Philip did it. All these regents, all these kings, all these majesties with all their stuff, they walk. When they walk through a crowd, they walk with their hands clasped behind their back. Now, this is a very powerful posture. The fact that they have, SAS bodyguards all around them probably helps. Yeah. But the implication is they are not protecting their genitals. Implication is, I'm not afraid of being attacked. So we're back to that same thing. Nobody's going to whip out a Morning Star or a freaking mace.
Yeah, and strike him in the bag.
Bone. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So, okay, we're going to have to edit this podcast.
It's weird because, historically, all of this comes down to reproduction, right? Because if you get struck in the bag, well, you can't reproduce. And so if you're taking up lots of space and not protecting yourself down there, then you've already got a lot of kids. You're not concerned about it in the least. Anyway, it's pretty funny. Okay. Let's move on to moving quickly, not just quickly, smoothly.
This is it.
And with some speed. Like if we move like we're tiny old little robots or something.
You do that way too well.
People who move really slowly and don't have joint movement, they
don't turn their head like Batman in the early fills.
Yeah, as you call it. Well, we're not going to get political here, but you had a term for this, which you won't even say.
So you have to tell me off camera later. It's going to drive me nuts. But here's the thing about that. Taking up
might have had something to do with a certain U.S. president.
Okay, so this might imply. Not taking up space implies personal power and confidence, but moving slowly implies age, and unless it's smooth. But you want to be comfortable and relaxed in your motions. If you move quickly without seeming furtive like a freaking chipmunk, and crack.
Smoothly, quickly. You're moving with energy and vigor.
Energy. You walk with power. You walk rapidly. And that sends a message of youthfulness. People meet me typically at HypnoThoughts and they go, Mike, you move so quickly. You don't seem a day over 70. And I say, I'm 71. Got you there.
That's funny. Now, if you think about it too, when people seem uncomfortable, they'll move in a jittery, I called it that chipmunky way, right? They're just jittery. If you look at someone who is lost in a city or in a shopping mall, not sure where the store is that they're trying to find.
It's never happened to me.
Constantly kind of doing this looking around
furtive.
Chipmunky thing. Yeah.
Very furtive.
That does not send a congruent, powerful, strong signal. It sends victim signal.
Exactly, buddy. And an interesting thing is I was hired for a pilot for a TV show. I've been hired for lots of those. I've never done anything. It was called Undercover Customer. They had a British director. It was an excellent idea. The idea was professional actors would go into different stores and restaurants and act like weird customers. It would be filmed covertly, and then it would be deconstructed after the fact. I would tell the staff what they did wrong with body language, NLP, and all this, and what they did correctly.
Nice.
So we did a bunch of these. The guy was supposed to go and buy a baby rabbit in the pet store. And he went in, he said, I'll take that one there. And he said, oh, yeah. And he said he was a chef and he was going to be cooking it. And they just freaked on him. And it was a lot of fun doing. So one of the things I taught them, I said, if you want to seem like a weird customer, do normal activities, normal motions, looking at your watch, scratching yourself, whatever, but do them at the wrong speed, either way too fast or way too slow. Yeah. So if someone goes like this, that looks insane. And likewise, so does this. Yeah. So the key is,
or looking at the watch.
You know what, buddy? We got to wrap this pecker
I
up.
think we do. We'll cover a quick few points here. But okay, so we've got thumbs out of the pocket. We're taking up space. Let's really quickly hammer through recharging your life.
Well, that was the only one I didn't really have any notes on.
Well, we had a video on this, so we wanted to talk quickly on the podcast.
All right, you go ahead.
The one way to recharge your life is to pick one big area that you know needs fixing and shake it up. In fact, maybe use some of the Edward de Bono or the Whack Pack and do a workshop and think about what area of your life is the biggest, most screwed up area that if you fix it will make a big difference, and work on that. Brainstorm with one seed word or a workshop with the Whack Pack, or read the 6 thinking hats and start applying those things, because that's how you recharge your life.
That's brilliant. Yeah, find out this. And you put this before so well. If a ship is leaking, fix the biggest hole first. What is the area in your life that's causing the greatest concern, the greatest stress, the greatest leakage of money, whatever it is, fix that. Take massive action towards fixing that.
And we have 2 subpoints here. Use the magic question, which is, what would you like to have happen? Ask yourself that. What would you like to have happen? Focus on the positive. What do you want, not what you don't want, because that's the stuck state. And then the second thing was, where are my notes here? Did you just delete it? No, you didn't.
Oh, no.
Oh, your evidence criteria. How will you know when you have it, right? What is the problem? What's the evidence criteria? Because all you're doing is complaining about something without any evidence. That's unlikely to change. So figure out what your evidence criteria is.
What you want and how you'll know when it has worked.
That's it. So
Tony Robbins used to say that great line, what do you want? Well, I want more money. You just hand him a quarter. There you go.
Okay.
You have to be specific.
We're going to do a rapid fire on this one too, which is how to improve any relationship by being in the present. So this is our challenge, to do this in less than 2 minutes.
Okay, well, we can do it.
Okay.
So when in any relationship, we're not going to go through them all. Any relationship, you have to be present with that person in the communication. So the first one is actually listen. Actually, shut up. Actually listen. Don't tell them to shut up. Lucci. So put your frickin' phone down. If you're talking to someone, they're going,
Yeah.
It's terrible. And also, if someone is involved with their phone, it's not a good time to interrupt them. Ask them if they have a moment. Don't just start talking and expect them to put it down.
And if you are, be congruent. So if somebody is looking to get your attention, and I could be working
closer to my eye.
I could be working in the kitchen on my laptop, okay?
Yeah.
Say my wife walks in and she wants my attention. If it's not, I have to immediately now decide, is what I'm doing really that important to say, hey, hold on, I need a moment? If not, close the laptop. My eyes are on you. My ears are on you. Boom. There you go. I don't know why. I don't know what you're thinking, but
all right.
Okay.
And look at the person when they're talking.
Put the phone
look
down.
at them.
Yeah.
And don't interrupt their train of thought, especially when they're angry. If someone's making a point and they're angry, let them vent. If you interrupt it, it forces them to reset again, and it's a very, very bad move. Don't finish
their sentences.
Shut up. Don't finish sentences for people. You'll almost always get it wrong. And then they have to rewind and tell you what they actually meant. Let them explain to you. Make occasional eye contact. Don't do the Hannibal Lecter at them. Don't left eye them like you're a convict.
On and off.
Look at them, look away, nod. You're going to support them and encourage them to keep talking. You're being consciously present. Think of that person as important, vitally important. And
I think we can skip the left eye thing.
Yeah, we've already skipped.
Nobody's going to consciously do that.
You're still talking about them, so let's
look at them normally. Pace your speech, your rate of speech,
to
your
theirs.
Posture, your head tilt. Yeah, match them, right?
When you don't have rapport, the thing that's most often left out is matching their rate of speech. And if you're talking to someone who talks a mile a minute and you're just being really laid back and really kinesthetic, it won't work. You won't have rapport, no matter how much body language you match and nodding and all of this stuff. So speak in the same tone, the same speed that they are to build rapport.
And if they are shouting, you don't necessarily want to match the volume, or at least
a little
not
bit
for
low
long. You can raise your voice and then bring it down nice and calm.
Right. And if you raise your voice and you're with them instead of opposed to them, you're aligning with them. When you drop your tone and your intensity, they will follow you back down again. Don't mind read. You don't know what people are thinking. 6 of diamonds.
You're thinking that No.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah.
People mind read all the time. We can't read minds. And also, don't fall for reverse mind reading. If you were really my friend, you'd understand why I'm mad. You'd know it. No, you have to tell me.
You should know that.
I hate that.
How can I know if you didn't tell me?
If you don't tell me, don't interpret. Ask for clarification. If someone's telling you something and you don't understand, say, oh, just a minute. Was that when he was up north that happened to Jeff? Yes, that's okay. Go ahead. People will appreciate that when you ask for brief clarification. And don't narcissist it. Don't grab the controls. You say, oh, what have you been up to? Oh, we just had this amazing trip to Spain. And you're about to talk. They say, oh, well, I was on a trip a couple of years ago.
I remember my
know a
first
guy
trip
does
to
that.
Spain.
It's just everything becomes a self-reference. He never asks you anything about yourself.
Yeah, it's horrible.
How are you
And
doing,
if people
Chris? How are
do
you
ask
doing?
you,
I'm asking
here,
you.
yeah, how am I doing? Here's the thing. When people say, how are you? And you legit answer because you've got some exciting stuff going on in your life. Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to Europe. We're going on a riverboat cruise in a
You
few
sound
weeks.
worried.
Whatever. I'm saying all this stuff. Now, make sure in your brain, go, how are you? What's new with you?
Yeah. Throw it back.
Put it back,
Throw the ball
right?
back. Yeah. And use receptive steepling. We've said that. Hands down. Point it down. Just occasionally like this. It shows that you are listening. It sends a strong receptive message. Offer back their language snippets. Oh, I've just been run down lately with no energy at all. And you say, oh, I'm sorry to hear that you're depressed.
Mind
Say
reading.
depressed. That's reinterpreting them. Say, oh, low energy. Offer back a couple of the words that will show them that you're definitely listening to them. The language snippets. And if things go off the rails, here's the most important
The
one.
final one.
Don't launch the nuclear weapons. You know what they are in any given relationship. I know what the nuclear weapons are with him. Just don't pay attention when he's telling me something. Let me pretend I'm doing something. I deliberately turn and listen to him.
Or like
I still get it wrong.
When I'm about to say something really important, just start paying all of your attention to the little doggy or something like that.
Yeah,
Instead,
that would
oh,
be
he's a
bad.
little doggy. Little...
That'll be bad.
But
yeah.
if you know what the triggers are for someone, don't freaking go pushing
launch.
them on purpose. Don't be
launch.
hitting that button.
And and it can be said, well, 2 years ago when we were at that, and you did, keeping a record of old stuff, like let that stuff go.
Yeah.
If that's the trigger, if someone calls you a wimp, it can be a trigger. Whatever it is, there's different things that will trigger people. If someone deliberately uses the trigger, and it can be a facial expression, a smirk when you say something like, oh, there he goes again. Your key is don't respond. Just dissociate immediately and just recognize, oh, they tried to trigger you and it didn't work. It does no one any good when you go to nuclear strike.
We want to hear in the comments, what do you do that works for you to be present in a relationship that you're involved with? Any kind of relationship. What do you do to make sure that you're actually present? We want to hear your tips.
And remember, the angrier you get, the more emotional you get, the stupider you become.
Temporarily.
Human Givens theory. Temporarily.
Yeah. But if you get angry all the time, then you're just constantly in a state of stupidity, and that's not very good, is it?
No.
All right.
All right, Chris, you're now, because you've said some great stuff, you're going to improvise the empowering question.
The empowering question. Oh, my goodness. Okay,
And
so
action.
let's do it about relationships. What will you begin doing today that will cause a shift in your presence in the most important relationship in your life?
Brilliant.
There you go.
Excellent. I had a Metafive, but I'm not going to give it because we're running out of time. Instead, I'm going to give the headline edition. There's this place, Brookbanks Park, and I like walking there because it's just a blast. Okay.
All right. So we'll see you in the next episode, which will be well after we get back from Las Vegas. So I'll just remind you, make sure you head on over to MikeMandelHypnosis.com. You can also go and join our free Facebook group, MikeMandelHypnosis.com/free group, all one word. And check out the events section on our page so you can sign up for our Architecture of Hypnosis, which will be sold out soon. Thanks once again. Lucci.
Lucci.
And good night.
Good night.